I'm very honoured to be here today with Hannah Scott, singer-songwriter. Hi Hannah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm not too bad, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to this interview today because we're going to talk about all things music and AS and your journey really. So can we start from the very beginning? Where did it all start?
So I had a routine visit to a chiropractor. Before that I had no pain whatsoever. She manipulated my spine and I came out of the first appointment and I was like, oh, this feels amazing. But 2 or 3 days later, pain started to develop in my lower spine and going down my legs. And I left it a few days and then I called her up and she said, well, maybe I've trapped something, come back in, I'll manipulate your spine again. And I left and I basically couldn't move. So I went to my GP and the GP said, you've probably slipped a disc, take some ibuprofen, come back if it doesn't get better. Didn't get better.
How was that affecting you? Like, what was really happening in them moments where you're in pain? How was it affecting your life?
Oh, I mean, in every way. Like, I couldn't sleep, I could barely walk. I remember trying to get to work, walking the kind of 100 yards between the station and the school I was working in, literally crying because I was in so much with every step. It was so painful. I had other joint issues as well, and I just kind of put that down to, well, I must be walking funny, so my knee's funny because I'm walking funny, and I can't sleep because my back hurts, and and then I was lucky. I went back to the GP. He's like, this is something not right going on here. Sent me for a blood test that showed inflammation. So went to a rheumatologist, and the rheumatologist diagnosed, well, at the time, ankylosing spondylitis, but I guess now axial spondyloarthritis.
Yes, can you say it?
I can, yes, yeah. My family often take the mick a little bit for try and say it in different ways.
Yes.
But so my journey was relatively quick.
So Hannah, how long was it from the moment you knew something wasn't right to actual diagnosis?
I think the time between the first chiropractor appointment and the rheumatologist telling me you have AS, it was around about 5 months.
So. That's really quick. Yeah. So you're one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
Why do you think you had such a quick diagnosis?
I think probably because I was a bit older, so I was 31 when I was diagnosed. I think because my symptoms obviously came on so quickly, the GP couldn't really put it down to, a sporting injury or growing pains. Obviously I'm in my early 30s, probably partly due to the fact that I'm living in London, and we've talked about the postcode lottery, which obviously it really shouldn't be like that across the country. So I'm treated at Charing Cross Hospital, which is just up the road from here, and they're great. And I feel very strongly that everyone's journey should be as mine was. And although that year was, it was probably the worst year of my life, it was only a year. It wasn't 8 years, and I was able to kind of readjust my life and get on top of my symptoms much more quickly than someone who had to wait 8 or, was it 15 or something for you?
Just a minor little 15
Just a minor 15 years, yeah.
But do you think that rheumatologist happened to have a knowledge of Axial SpA?
I would hope they all do, but I guess the rheumatologist probably looked at what had happened, my bloods. I did an MRI scan and that showed sacroiliitis, so obviously inflammation of my hips and my lower spine, and looked at all of those things, and then he was getting me to kind of bend down and I couldn't go kind of beyond my shins, and seeing the fact that I had morning stiffness, and although at the time I didn't have any of the kind of eye, skin, those kind of problems, I think there was enough there to show that that's what it was. So.
Have you got any fusion at all?
No.
So you're really lucky. You've had, you managed to nip it in the bud straight away. So how is your life now with AS?
So I have managed to get things in terms of pain back under control. Fatigue I struggle with still, and I don't work full time. In some ways I'm grateful because I was doing jobs to support my music that I didn't particularly love. I was cleaning and I was working in challenging schools in southeast London and working long hours, and I couldn't do that once my symptoms started. So now I teach piano. I work fewer hours. It's much more enjoyable because it's music, and I couldn't do a full-time job physically, but I'm lucky that I've managed to work things out that I don't need to. So
are you on any treatment at the moment? How do you treat your AS?
Yeah, so I take golimumab, Simponi, once a month injection, and then on top of that, the yoga and swimming and gentle walking and stretches and all of those things. And sometimes on a bad day it can be quite difficult to motivate yourself to do it, and then you do it and you feel better. So over time I think you learn that sometimes the things you don't really want to do, and I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? Like, when you're in pain, the last thing you want to do is move, but actually that's what we need to be doing.
Such a big thing.
And that's why it's so important that diagnoses are happening faster, because then people are understanding that actually, no, although it goes against what your body's telling you, this is what you need to be doing to make sure your spine doesn't fuse, right?
Exactly. So tell me about you as a singer-songwriter and the impact that AS has had on that journey and what you're doing differently now.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously have to do quite a lot of things differently, as you know as well. There's no more sessions to 2-3 in the morning. I play live quite regularly, although obviously not so much in the past 18 months. And where before I would be quite happy to go and play a festival in Wales, which I'm doing this weekend. My set is, well, the latest set is 9 o'clock, so I'll be finishing about 10. 6 or 7 years ago I'd have jumped in my car and driven back to London, and now I'm like, my body won't do a drive to Wales, a gig and a drive back. So I make sure I've got time to stop, and then I'll stay overnight before I come back. Playing festivals, I don't know if you found this. Obviously, I don't look I look able-bodied. We look able-bodied. No one would know.
The invisible illness.
Exactly. And sometimes, turning up at a festival where you've basically got to cross 5 fields to get to your stage, and you've got a keyboard on one shoulder and a guitar on the other, and I find it quite difficult asking for help. And no one would know that perhaps I needed it. So just, I guess, being in touch with people, promoters, and saying, you might need to help me get my keyboard onto the stage, or is it possible to park a bit closer, those kind of things that I would never have had to think about before.
And it's embarrassing sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, because then people do judge based on what they see.
They think you're a bit of a prima donna. I need parking right at the front.
She won't carry her keyboard.
Yeah, look at her. No, it's actually really painful.
Yeah,
I do understand.
Yeah.
And what about your writing, Hannah? So do you think that your writing style has changed since you've become ill and you've had to change your way of life? You're having to look after yourself more, almost to look at your life a little bit differently. I know I have. I visualise myself more as a warrior now. Like every day is a battle for me, So has your writing style changed or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely when illness hits you, I guess you look at the things that are more important. You realise what's important in life a bit more, and automatically that's going to have an impact on on the way that you write. I think. I haven't actually written any songs about AS, although I have like a little book of ideas, and there is something there. Maybe at some point it will come out. But yes, probably just in that awareness of what's important in life and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I definitely look at chronic illness differently as well, and I think before I didn't really understand what an invisible illness was. You think, well, you look okay, but I've really learned that sometimes not everything is what you see to the eye.
Yeah.
And it gives you a whole new appreciation for people.
Definitely, yeah.
That are suffering. Well, thank you so much, Hannah.
No, thank you.
With your music and everything, and we will look out for your new album.
Thanks very much.
Coming soon, definitely.
Yeah. Yours too.
Yes, and mine.